So, hey, Ro, thank you for joining us today. It's really nice to see you in your purple.
My favorite color.
Mine too. Mine too. So, I'm wondering what inspired you to start your journey in this art coaching with me?
Uh, well, it was a number of a path that I'd been on for a long time. I, I, it was about 6 years ago that when I started this painting, that I had lost my husband suddenly, and just of course, the whole experience of that, and then and going through that grief journey, and then just one thing after another, like within just a matter of a few short years, the pandemic hit. I decided then that I really needed to retire, and that was, so I left my job. Um, I decided it was time to move, and I had to go through my all of the belongings in our house together and then move. So there was just all of these huge transitions that are, at the top of the stressor list, and I was experiencing them all around the same time, one after the other. And so I decided, I was getting through it. And I would say the last year, I kept having this urge to do something creative. I really felt like I wanted to use my hands, but I didn't know what to do or where to go. And I don't have an art background, so I don't know, I just didn't know where to go with it. And so I did nothing. And I just really honestly, although I had come really far, I feel like in my grief journey, I had gone through, a lot of the processes of grief. I was feeling stuck in my life, and I think it was really because I felt like I still hadn't found myself. I mean, all these, these things that I've mentioned, job, losing your spouse, all of these things, you lose your identity and put them all together, move to a whole different area, all of that. I just felt like I couldn't find myself. And for some reason, I had this strong urge that doing something creative would do it. And so my friend Carla, who knows Leslie well, said, "You have to meet Leslie."
Mhm.
And that's how, and that she introduced me. And that's how I didn't get to go to one of her lovely student showcases. I missed that. I wasn't able to make it, but I went and met her, and that's when, really from the minute I met you, I felt like I was with someone that I could do this with because, I'm not a painter. I don't have experience. So it just was this nice combination of I felt comfortable with you. I felt like I could do this with you. Like it would, maybe some other painting class wouldn't be the fit for me. I thought this would be the fit for me.
Wonderful.
So
It's kind of surprising, I'm sure, for people who are looking at your work that you've never done art before.
Not really. I mean, I did calligraphy. I learned calligraphy, which
Okay.
I loved for quite a time, and then did a little freelance calligraphy. So I loved that. And I did, I mean, many, many, many years ago, took a drawing class, which, as I said, every week when we had to put our giant newsprint paper on the thing of what we drew, it was like kindergarten compared to everybody else. But I stuck with it. I did it for the semester. That's about it. And I did like one watercolor class, a couple of weeks of that once. But I haven't really done. I've never done anything on a canvas, no acrylic painting or oil or anything like that. I've never. That's always really scared me. Um, so I don't, and it's been years that I've done anything that had any, sense of art. I love art. I love to see it. I really get excited by it, but I've never really, really deeply delved into it. So.
So I'm curious about this bridge. So you puttered in a few little different categories, but it wasn't really your main thing. You had a whole bunch of things that happened to you, and you were actively active in your grief journey, which was 6 years prior.
Mhm.
And so, what would you say your overall? You said you were stuck, but what was like the overall thought process or feeling that you were going through before you started to paint with me?
Yeah, I honestly, I felt like maybe I was depressed. I just felt like I had a lot of ups and downs. I mean, I definitely was feeling more joy. I was feeling more connection with people, but it was spotty. It would kind of come
Mhm.
and go. and I just couldn't stick with the feeling, I guess, the
Got it.
good feelings. Yeah, and I just kept that just kept happening. And sometimes those deep, those dips were, they lasted. Sometimes it'd be a couple of days, sometimes it'd be a couple of weeks. So it just
Mhm.
felt like I was stuck.
And I know when we start this process, so you've got two paintings behind you, and hopefully we'll
Yeah.
showcase your third one. Do you remember what your initial intentions were? So, the painting behind you to the right, which is the flower painting within the heart, do you remember what your initial intention was when you started this
Yeah,
painting?
so this one here was show me the way to love myself with more kindness, to express my creativity powerfully,
Hmm.
and to create healthier relationships.
Hmm. And as you were going through this process, what inspired that particular flower that you painted in the heart?
Yeah, so that's a hydrangea, although it might not look like it completely. It is a hydrangea, which I love because um, I was so impressed. I mean, I love them anyway, but when I started walking my dog, which was my husband's, and now I was starting to walk her, I just was amazed at I would see hydrangea at all different times, all different seasons. And so I was so impressed that not only, we know they change colors and they, depending on the soil, but also just that they really hang in there a long time. And then they're so beautiful in the fall, the way they change colors, the way they darken, get more purple. Well, it's not, they don't just go right to brown. So it's quite and I would notice it because I'd walk my dog. So I really fell in love with them. I love them because they're sort of an old flower. I think of, that, and I love that kind of a vintage feel. But but when I looked up the meaning, I was so impressed because it's about resilience. And my friends used to always say, oh, you're so resilient, Ro. And I would be like, I don't want to hear that because that means that I have been through hell, and I didn't really want to hear that. But eventually I got to accept that, I have been through a number of different really tough tragic things, and because of it I am resilient. So that reminded me, and the fact that when I looked it up it said that I knew it was a hardy plant, but that it could handle lots of different environments, and so I love that about it.
What's also interesting as you're talking is that it sounds like, just as this flower changes colors through all the seasons, you were changing too. Just as
Yeah.
this flower shifts, you were being resilient and shifting through quite a period of time.
Yes.
So I'm curious as you were painting this, what started to shift in your life as you painted?
I don't know if I can specifically go back to that time. I mean, I just because I think generally, this is a 1 year process with you, so I can't. So to pinpoint exactly what happened during that period, I don't know if I can do that. But generally, there was
That was for the large one.
oh, the large one. Oh, okay.
But do you know what was happening with you with the flower painting?
No, the large one I can tell you because that was the last. This was the last painting I did with you, so I
Okay.
can tell you about that. I feel like something, a number of things were happening because for me this one represents being able to really take my voice back and take my power back, and this is the Be the Flow from the Be the Flow series,
Mhm.
and my intention there was be the flow, be in the flow of my power, be in the flow of kindness, be in the flow of love, be in the flow of service. And I was learning as I was doing this, what was happening was this, and there's the baton there. So I feel like she's handing me this. Hey,
Mhm.
take your power back,
Mhm.
take it back, take your voice back. And that was happening. There were little opportunities that I said yes to, that I did. There were there was a couple of things I was taking on a little bit more leadership roles, which I never do, I rarely do. And, I became co-chair of a committee um, uh, in my church. And so just really, and I really it was interesting because I started talking about the intention with the flower painting, but and that might have started there actually, now that I think about it, was the one of the things I started doing, which was new for me. I've been working a lot on self-compassion for years. Not a new thing, but it took a different level. It was amazing because I really focused on it every day, and I would really take the time and anything that came up, whatever came up, it was a feeling that maybe I might have been embarrassed about if somebody knew, or ashamed about if somebody. I was with it. I was kind to it. I was loving with everything that came up, and that was new for me. And that started to. I feel like that started to transform things and shift me inside in a big way, because I was accepting all of me and loving all of me, and in a way that I hadn't. It was really an exercise, and it was on a daily basis that I started that. So there was that, and then this painting, I started, like I said, I started saying yes to things that I would normally I would have, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I can. I mean, I did. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, maybe, that would be a no. If I didn't think I could do it, it would be a no. And now I really do understand that just because I don't know if I could do it, if I'm excited about the idea of doing it, then it's a good pathway to a yes for me.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to the self-compassion piece that you were working on,
Yeah.
while you were in your art practice over the years. So the year encompassed three paintings, so everybody understands that, and they'll see the third one. Three different paintings and three different programs that you worked on. What do you think some of the biggest challenges you faced while being in this art process? Was some of them even just saying yes to yourself?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think about how every session with Leslie started, we'd sit for a minute and, for a few minutes, and we'd talk. And, there would be maybe Leslie might have some reflective questionings, because I also called her my soul coach, because she also did this soul work. And we would sit there and do things and talk about different things. And sometimes she'd have a poem or something that she was reading that struck me, or it was a really special time. And then she said, okay, let's go, stand up, let's go into the studio, which was like about 8 feet away. And I just was so fearful, and so, like, and the negative self-talk was so strong. It was really quite amazing how strong it was. What are you doing here? You can't do this. Don't even pick up that brush. What's wrong with you? What made you think you could do this? Why did you say yes? I mean, all of this stuff. And, each time she'd be like, okay, let's go. And I would partly I'd be like, I want to sit here and just talk. I don't want to go paint, because that was my comfort zone, right? And each time, and so it was strong for a long time. It didn't go away, but eventually it started to lessen. And it would be less until sometimes I didn't even really have it or hear it, or I'd have a little teeny bit of nervousness and I'd just get up and go. But it really took a long time. It took, which again, that taught me such an important lesson, because, confidence comes by doing. It doesn't come by thinking about it. And it comes by challenging yourself. I knew this was a big challenge. I actually knew I needed a challenge, like one really out of the box, because I was stuck. And I needed like a shaking, like an inner shaking of, hey, you're in there, come on out. And so anyway, yeah,
I'm curious, like how you stayed motivated during those times when your confidence might have been shaky.
yeah. It was interesting too, because I there's a Buddha teacher that I love, and she has a book, and the title is How You Do Anything is How You Do Anything is How You Do Everything. So I was watching, there was a part of me that was watching how I do this, and I realized, oh, it doesn't have anything, I mean, it had to do with painting in this, but really it's what happens to me. So every time there is a challenge, somebody asks me to do something that I really want to do, but I'm really scared. Sometimes I say no because I don't know if I can do it. And as I was sharing, and I I found that it was this lesson each week. Okay, are you going to get up and do it, Ro? No, you don't feel like it. Like feeling like it is not there. It doesn't mean anything. It just means
Right.
it's a new thing for
That's
me.
right. Well, it is the feeling. I
Yes,
guess acknowledging the feeling, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the blocks came from fear, and some of these were mindset blocks. They weren't even creative blocks.
Yeah, yes, they were mindset. And then it reminded me of this other huge challenge that I gave myself when I said yes to, really going for a career and going back to school in a program that was really hard and I wasn't sure I could do and all of that. And so it was the same. It was that, that same, I had with that same thing. So this is my pattern. I had this really extreme negative self-talk when I was starting to do that program, even the prerequisites for it, and I had to work with all of it. I had to work with what are you doing here? You can't do this. What makes you think you can do it? You're not going to be any good at this. All of that, and so that's my pattern. That whenever I'm about to do something really challenging, really out of the box for me, not something little, something big that really is different. And this was science and math, and it had the psychologies. That was my comfort zone. This was, I was really, in saying yes to the student program, I was really pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I realized with both experiences, with the painting too, so I get the biggest rewards in a way. I get the biggest changes that I wanted. I get them because I take on this thing that's really out of my comfort zone
Okay, that was
completely.
actually, it's incredible that you got to that point because that was my next question. Like, is there a moment that, or an accomplishment that you can think of while you were painting that you felt proud of? So you're saying your
Oh,
biggest rewards came when you pushed yourself out of the comfort zone. So
yeah.
even while painting, was there certain points where you did not know what you were doing and but then later you felt proud of what you did?
Well, the thing that again, it was like watching how I am. So the thing that was so cool was, again, under these paintings, there's so many layers. Each time you start, you do a layer and then you do another. Eventually you start doing what's going to be on the layers. And it's an interesting process, perfect for someone who's doesn't have a lot of experience because initially it felt very free form. And the thing that was so cool was I really felt the joy and the playfulness. And I didn't really expect that either. Like, I mean, such joy and such, like I was a little kid, just playing at the canvas, moving around because it's big, right? I had to move around to do it. And it felt really freeing and just yeah, extremely joyful. And that would happen a lot during this process of the painting. And that was fun to see,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't expect that at all.
Mm-hmm.
There were definitely, and again, there were times when things were more detailed and they required a lot more attention and they were harder for me. And sometimes I definitely got frustrated. There were times that I would see something that I did and I would kind of not like it, or sometimes I would hate it. But, there are other times I loved what was on the canvas when I was done, when I stepped back. And I realized none of that really quite mattered. It just meant, do you just keep going? Just go ahead and keep going. So I knew after a while, I understood that, okay, you don't like what's on there today. Wait until you see what happens next week.
That's good.
So just sort of going with the whole process. I think I began to trust the process. And that, it's very physical, the physical process of painting, but it felt like it was also a personal process
Mhm.
that I had to trust.
And in coming into this process, lots of people sometimes, especially if they haven't had experience, they feel that they need to have this technique down.
Mhm.
I think self-expression is more important than technique. What are your thoughts on that?
So I feel like technique is kind of like learning how to write your letters. It's something you need if you're going to write. You want to write pages of things. You need to know the basics. So for me, the techniques are those basics that I needed, and it also gives me things to play with. Like if I don't know them, I don't have them to play with. So I was happy to get the techniques. And some techniques I loved and I felt so connected to, and other techniques I was like, ugh, it was hard. And it was that, and again, interesting to see, what felt comfortable, what I liked, what I didn't. But I also appreciated that even the ones that felt hard, I appreciated sort of being pushed a little bit to try them and to do them because I knew that they were going to have a good effect.
Mhm.
So I feel like the techniques are what I get to use to be playful.
That's a
So
very good point.
yeah, so I appreciated that, and it was such a nice mix of both that I didn't feel like. I think if I went to a class, maybe at a college where it was just technique, I think I would. That might have been hard, but it was this nice combination of techniques. Now play with it. Now use it. Now try this and try that, and
And
so that was helpful.
this interesting thought of being pushed a little. I'm wondering what like a successful painting coaching session would look like for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the thing that I loved about you. You're very sensitive to what was going on with the person. So I worked with Leslie individually. I also worked with her in a group, and so always she was sensitive. And sometimes, one of us would be at the paint, we'd be painting, and we'd be making sighs, and she'd be like, "What do you need? Is everything okay over there?" And she'd come over and work, help us deal with whatever we were having difficulty with if we needed it and wanted it. Um, so yeah, so I guess it was just really you were very sensitive to what we needed, and sometimes we needed that push, like and I appreciated that. I know that from my work as an occupational therapist. Sometimes you have to push people a little bit
Mhm.
to get them where they want to go. Not where you want them to go, but where they need to go. So I respected that, and there was a lot of laughter. There was a lot of it was just a very comfortable setting. Sometimes we had nice music in the background and it was quiet, and we just painted to that, and um, yeah, it was it. I felt like it used a lot of my senses, which I really
Yes, it's
appreciated.
true. It does.
Yeah.
How do you think, working with the coach has impacted your growth as an artist or even as a person?
Yeah, I really love this combination of coaching and painting. So, yes, Leslie is a painting teacher, excellent, no question about it. But the coaching is a different thing. And to put the two together, that's a whole nother um
Layer.
yeah, and it was such a for me, it was just exactly what I needed
Mm.
because it was really, again, helping me get through this really stuck energy to a more enlivened and powerful energy, which I felt so much by the time we were getting to the end. But so and that was partly from the coaching. We did a
Mhm.
couple of coaching sessions. When I did the individual, we did some coaching sessions. And then there was sort of the daily a couple of whatever 15, 20 minutes or in a half hour before we went into paint, maybe about a half hour, I guess. And yeah, so all of that was all of it. I think to do it for me without it, it wouldn't have been as effective. It was
Mm.
really that combination
Yeah.
of both that
Yeah.
really helped.
What advice would you give to someone who might say, I don't need therapy, but they're wanting to paint and do something self expressive? What would you say to them, or what advice would
Yeah.
you give?
Well, I mean, I think the coaching, yeah, anybody could just start painting and work with someone and paint, and it's going to have some effect for sure. I think that it makes it richer to have the coaching. It makes it a deeper experience on a lot of more levels,
Mhm.
and I needed that. So, and I knew it, And again, I was more comfortable with the coaching part although, you did bring things to me that I needed to see, that kind of stuff. That was,
Mhm.
and again, um, I'm somebody that growth and learning are really important to me. That's
Yes.
probably some of the most important values for me about
Yeah.
my life. So because of that, I wanted a fuller experience, and I feel like having the coaching with the painting gave me just such a full experience, more than I ever thought possible.
Hmm.
Much richer. Yeah.
And if your paintings had a story to tell or had a message for you, at least the two that are behind you at the moment,
Mm.
what would they be?
Well, like I say, the goddess figure here, the female figure with the baton, like she was, she, I don't know if you can see it, there's a little bit of light up there, and she's reaching, to bring this baton through the light to me. And I just felt like it was because what was happening was, as I'm doing, I'm like, a baton, what the heck? What? And so I keep saying, because I love symbols, I love images. So I'm always like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I would go down and journal on it. While I was painting, I'd get ideas, things would come. And in the end, it generally was just actually a couple of different things. Was just this, besides like taking, here, take it. It's time for you to take it. It's time for you
Mm.
to take leadership positions. It's time for you to use your voice. I think that was the thing about for my grief journey. For me, I was really in a very internal space, a very inward space. And it was as if this message was, okay, now it's time to really be fully in the external world. Be your light in the world, be your voice in the world, and your essence. I believe we each have divine essence in us, and be that, show that. I've not been that for a long time,
Mhm.
because of what I went through. And so this I was starting to come through that. I was starting to work with more external things, but this process and working with her right here, that pulled me,
Mm.
farther out in a way that I did not expect or see coming.
So that's quite a transformation. And I remember you saying that there was some synchronicities that happened at home while you were painting, or is that with your other painting? Was
Um,
it with the deer?
I don't know yeah, so that because the deer was, yeah, I don't remember which painting that was.
It may have been this
I'm
one.
sure it was Merlin. Yeah, I'm sure it was the other
Well, you
painting.
know what? At that point, let me pass him over to you
Okay.
so you can. We'll switch paintings if you can.
Okay.
Why don't you pass me her?
Okay.
And thank you everybody for your patience. Okay, take her down, and we'll put him up. And there is Merlin, mystical Merlin.
Yes.
So, do you remember the synchronicity that you had with the deer? That story.
Yeah, I do remember that. That actually, the thing that was amazing about that is there are deer in my complex, but very few. Where other complexes that I live in, that I've heard of, they have so many. They're walking all over the place. But there's not a lot in mine. And someone once told me there was a deer that runs through my yard. I have a wall at the back of some evergreen trees. Anyway, so, but I've never seen it. So, I didn't know if it, and so I looked at what happened was, I don't usually wake up super early, but my dog woke me up, and I finally said, I better get up and let her out. And I went to open the door to let her out, and I saw that there was a doe, female deer, staring at me, and pretty big, and she was staring at me, and we just stopped and looked at each other. Now, I will tell you, this was the sixth anniversary of my husband's death.
Mm.
So and so I'm just watching it, and I look at it, and I realize that, oh my gosh, one of its legs, its front legs are broken. It's just kind of hanging. It was, obviously broken. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I didn't know what to do. So I just sent her healing thoughts, and, we just loved on each other for a minute more. And then she turned around and hopped away. And I kept wondering what that was about. Because again, images and symbolism is really important, whether it's in a dream or something, an image I see. And nature for me is that also those signs and symbols that speak to me. So I was wondering what the heck was that? Tom, did you send me a message? What were you trying to say? And then I got it. It took me a couple days and then I got it. And I had always told people that when my husband died, it was as if what it felt like was as if you just cut off both my legs. And I just didn't know how to function in the world at all. And that lasted for a long time because it was a sudden thing and totally unexpected. And so anyway, so I used to say about this, that and that had been years ago. So I mean, I was feeling like I was getting there. And so I felt like the message was, you're doing really well, you're growing, you've got a leg to stand on, but you have like one leg left. And that was this, and that's before I said yes to this, Leslie. That was when,
Interesting.
yeah, that happened. And I was like, oh yeah, one leg left. Like there's one leg that wasn't healing properly yet, wasn't healed yet. And but you were on four legs, you were three legs, you were doing pretty good, but you still had a ways to go. And then I would say that, it was shortly after that I said yes to this. And I didn't put the two together until even now. I forgot I mean, that was really important to me, that message. And I did take it to heart because I felt it, it's like, yeah, I'm there, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm not running. I'm not, jumping. I'm not yet my full self. So, yeah, so that was really important.
And when you started Merlin, because he was your first painting
Yeah.
that you worked with me one on one, do you remember what your intention was for him?
Yeah, so Merlin, this one was, and I just want to tell you, the thing that I loved so much was this intention work. And one of them is you have this blank canvas, and Leslie says, okay, take a piece of charcoal, or one time we lit what is it, Palo Alto, the Palo Santo, the like a sage kind of a stick or something. Anyway, and you take it, and it's like charcoal, and you write on the canvas your intention. And there was something about that. So mine was, I'm living in my power. I'm living in my presence. And just to write that in big giant letters was really powerful. And each intention I would take and I would make a little index card and I would keep it on my altar and I would say it every day. Which really, that combination and then painting with it with that intention really was a powerful take on intentions that I never really had experienced before. I've worked with intentions for sure, but this took it to a different level for me. It was a deeper level.
And I know that you had some of the symbolism that's on him. Would you like to discuss that?
Yeah. So definitely there's so much symbolism here for me. The turquoise that I have him wearing. When Tom died, I just got this strong feeling that I had to wear turquoise. Now I love turquoise, don't get me wrong, I love it. But I didn't have, it was like I had to look through my wardrobe to find turquoise and I just had to wear it, almost every day I wore something turquoise, whether it was a top or whatever. Or it had a little turquoise in it. And I come to find out it's a healing stone. And I didn't realize that when I kept getting that about turquoise, I just knew I had to do it. And so he's got that on. And then the shell, this is the shell was during the time that I was doing this painting. I went to North Carolina. I was in the water and people were coming out with these giant shells. I was like, I've never seen this before in my life. Where the heck am I? And they're coming out with them. And so I was with my friends and we had to really walk into the water to get, where it was a little bit high. So we were pretty far in the ocean. And I was like, I'm going to start looking. So I was using my feet to look around and I ended up pulling up this beautiful long, it was a whelk. And so this is sort of the front of it or, one view of it, but it's got the long curled, stem, so to speak. Anyway, it was beautiful. It was purple. I've never seen it. I've never seen this color before. It was striped with a purple, which I love, is my favorite color, as I said earlier. Purple, gold, and white all through it. It was just amazing. So, and I really wanted to take it with me. I'm going to bring it to shore. And then this giant snail, I mean, this starts coming out. And I was like, ah! And my friends are like, because I was like, what do I do? Because I really wanted to take the shell. And they're like, you can't take the shell. You're going to kill the snail. He's going to die. So, my conscience got the best of me. And I said, all right. And I had to let it go. And it kind of reminded me years ago that when I was dating Tom, and he, I would say to him, I said something, we were kind of wondering where our relationship was going or whatever. I said, well, and he was sort of at a place in his life. He had just become a new teacher and was looking for a job and all of that. We both had started our careers at the same time, which was pretty cool. I was just finishing my schooling. So I said to him, I said, well, take something really valuable that you love and you release it, let it go, and let the universe give it back to you if it's for you, as far as a job or our relationship or whatever it was that was meaningful to him. And so when he did it, he said, Ro, I did it. And this is not like him. He's not that kind of person. And he did it. And he goes, I said, Tom, you did it? Wow, that's great. What'd you throw in? He goes, well, I threw in that heart rock that we had found when we were walking on the beach. And I'm like, you threw in the heart rock? And we just cracked up. He goes, but that was the most meaningful thing I had. And it was so funny because I had told him to do that. So I threw the shell back in, and it really was one, and it was all in one piece. I've never, again, you get pieces of a shell sometimes, but not the whole thing. So, but I had to let it go and let it come back to me if it wanted to. And of course, the moon at the crown was really important because ever since my mom died when I was little, and I would go out and talk to the moon. That was and I still do it to this day. Every full moon I do it. I talk to the moon and, have share, I guess, pray to the moon. That's something that I do. So.
And was there a symbolism with sun and the solar plexus?
So at the time, I mean, to me, it's all so I don't have, it looked very chakra-like it's definitely following a chakra line. I didn't have it all to the T in my head when I was doing it. It was just what wanted to be on the page. On it, yeah.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, it was. And that was another thing that I learned in this whole process, which was so helpful, was to listen to my intuition and to follow it. So Leslie would always say, hey, step back. What color? Just look at it, take a moment. What color do you want to put on there? What do you want to do next? Do you want, what is, maybe Merlin? Does Merlin want something? Does the painting want something? And just that art of listening and then trusting and following what was coming. It was, and this happened a lot. So with all the paintings, so this was a real visceral practice of listening for your intuition and following it for me, which was very, very powerful because I feel like I got it. Like I got it in a way that I didn't before, which again, these are things I didn't even know what I was going to learn when I did it. I just knew I needed to be in this creative process. I knew that. I knew, and what I'm sharing are things that for me were part of what came out of that saying yes to that process.
That's an interesting and unexpected learning in your journey.
Yeah.
Did he have any particular message to you that you can recall?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if you can see, there's nature behind him. There's some nature flowing through him. He's got nature here in him, right? And for me, that was like, we are all part of nature. You look at the power and the beauty of nature. That's you. We're all part of it. So, and what's inside is what's outside. The macro world is living in my little micro world. So all of that. It was an important message of sort of the oneness of life. And and that we're all, it's all connected. I'm all part of it. I'm part of nature. I am nature.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Was there something unexpected that you could say you learned about yourself through this journey?
Well, this is something very blunt. I didn't really know I could do a painting that I actually would like at the end.
I
Uh,
think that's a good thing for
yeah,
people to
yeah. I
know.
didn't, like I fell in love with each one of them. One of the things that Leslie knows, when Merlin, we did a meditation, a vision quest meditation, a guided meditation, and Merlin showed up. Now, I'm not into Merlin. I don't know anything much about him except that he was wise. This is what I think of him: wise, ancient. So this kind, he's very kind to me. That's how he came through, and that alchemy, I feel like today we would call him an energy worker.
Hmm.
He's a healer and one of the wise masters. So, but the thing that happened was when he came in the meditation, Leslie said, okay, and then we did whatever. You're here, you're there. Then a guide comes, and it was Merlin. It was this character, and I was like, I don't want a guy. Where's my goddess? I was so upset. For weeks and weeks, I was upset. I was like, where the heck is my goddess? Why did I get a guy? And it was wonderful because I kept working with that. So whatever, that was the other thing. It is something that I believe really strongly in, the power of questions. Good questions,
Mm-hmm.
are really part of what moves us and helps us to grow. And
Hmm.
asking those questions and keep asking them until we get answers.
Hmm.
There are some that don't have answers. Why Tom had to die, I don't know that answer. Why my mom died young, I don't have that answer. But these other things were like, why, hey, why did that come through? Why are so why do I have a masculine character that I'm painting?
Hmm.
And I really began to understand that I probably didn't until probably I was closer to done, but I started to really fall in love with this character, this person, this guide. I started to really fall in love with it and realize that that whole yin yang thing with the where the I do believe that we're all, we all have masculine and feminine qualities, and we all need that. It's a balance within us that we need. Um, not toxic masculinity or toxic femininity, but the healthy part of those. And so we need them to grow and to be our full self. So that's to me a wholeness. And so
Yes.
here I was having this masculine, representing action, being out in the external world, that kind of and that's what I was lacking. So he came to guide me to begin to start getting out into the external world.
Well, you also just about answered my last question, or a second to last question was like, can you connect now all of these artworks to some kind of personal goal or broader value that you have in your life? And it sounds like you summed it up well
Yeah, yeah.
with this, this kind of alchemical energy that comes through these three paintings
Mhm.
and how it's helping you to reach wholeness through these archetypes, the different archetypes that
Mhm.
you're creating.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
If there was some other benefit or takeaway from your work, or if there was something that you wanted to tell other people um, about the benefits of this work, what would you say?
Well, I think again, just generally, it is a powerful lesson. There's only been a couple of periods in my life where I've been uh, I really felt my power. Like I was really aligned with it. I was doing things out in the world with it. I was really, and they both were times of big shifts in me, big changes. Like it's almost like if you looked at me then and you look back, you wouldn't quite recognize me in some ways. And I feel like this experience, this year of painting, the year of painting, that would be my book,
Mm-hmm.
my book title, and that was this, that's why I call her a soul coach. That was this really, um, it was a movement from, just sort of my light and my, just my essence being kind of just stuck, stuck in an underground kind of thing. And, it was time for it to come out, and it was time for that flower to seed. And, so it was really important that I said yes to this. And each time I had to say yes. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, the biggest message, and now I know this. So now when I say yes out, to something totally different, not something artistic, um, but something I enjoy doing, or I really, oh, I'm excited about that, but I don't know if I could do it. I say yes because um, I realize that what I feel, the discomfort, the fear, that's all just part of my creative process. It just is. It's part of the process. It's not going away. It might not go away. I mean, it might lessen, and it has with the painting. But whenever I said yes to anything, and now in the last since this year started, I said yes to three things, and those are big things. So, I started leading a group in on gratefulness that once a month we started doing that. I did so I just and I felt really good about it, because again, it's service, it's doing something that I believe in, and values that I believe in that help us be better people and live better in the world. So this process this year has been I feel like it's been a training to,
Mm,
okay, same thing you learned here when you didn't want to get up and go paint in the studio. Same thing. It's the same. Okay,
yes.
so just be uncomfortable. Get comfortable with your uncomfortableness.
Mm.
It's it'll eventually, and that did, some of that discomfort totally did subside because I started to really, wow, I'm enjoying this. I like this process. I feel good about what I'm doing. I see that it's bringing out gifts and skills that I have that I didn't know I had, when I say yes to any of these things. So, and like I say, I love learning and growth, and there was loads of it in this process. Honestly, it was that push that I needed to get out of my stuck place.
And so
So,
beautiful, and beautiful work too, Ro. So it's been an honor to witness what you've become, which you have, in a sense, become an artist in this process. One of those things that we don't always realize that we have in us, right? So you pull these things from out that were inside of
yeah,
you out onto the canvas
yes.
while you are kind of traversing whatever's going on in your life and following this little wonky journey in your life and through this painting process. You can't always say it seamlessly, but that you had the courage to do that
Yeah.
and to see how it's opened up some new doors for you. And certainly I can tell, like, your energy, you're like a completely different human being than when I met last year. Like, the tonality in your voice, how you carry yourself. I know you've been on a lot of exciting trips this past year, done things with friends and family, and it's just been an honor to work with you and to see these most amazing things that you've created. And I'm excited to see how this will continue in your life and what you're going to do, whether it's in your service to the world and how you want to parlay this kind of energy for yourself. And I hope that you continue to be creative and to be you, the two very important things. Life is a very creative process, and it's just been a pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you for being that guide for me. I didn't know where to turn. I had been doing therapy, through this grief journey. So, I was like, I've done that was helpful, but I've done, a lot of different things on this journey. I guess the most important thing I'm so glad I do want to say to everyone is my intuition said I need to do something creative. Whatever that urge is that just won't let go, you really need to listen to that. I'm so glad I did because, and Carla said the minute I saw what Leslie was doing with her painting and her classes and all, I was like, Ro needs to meet her. And so all she did was the introduction. She brought me over to Leslie.
She followed her intuition too.
Yeah, she followed her intuition too. And, and then it's out of her hands. She's doing what she hears. And, and just honestly, just the comfort level that I felt with you as a teacher, which I don't think I would have, like if I went to, because I thought about it, I could go to a college class, or I could go to the community college and take a, maybe a painting class, which definitely would have been, just a very, very different experience. So this was a healing experience. This was
Yes.
more than painting. And the fun of being able to paint and actually like what I painted and enjoy it and, have it in my home um, and, it was amazing, but it was so much more even than that. And I really, really appreciate how you sort of coached me along through this
Mhm.
process. You were that guide through this process, and you were kind. You were, as I say, pushy when you needed to a little bit, and also just, a really clear teacher, just in, what we had to do next and all of that. And just the fact that you made it fun too. It wasn't, it wasn't, there wasn't judgment, it was a little bit of a love fest in there, it was just appreciating who I was and what I was doing in this process. And I just really felt that. So
Mhm.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Rowan. Thanks for sharing your story with everyone today. I
Okay.
appreciate that.